Market conditions remaining bullish in this bull market, seeing some nice acceleration to the upside with this continued breakout that we're seeing on S&P 500. We're seeing momentum pushing now towards the upper end of that range. We're also seeing the breadth continually improving here, and then also sentiment towards the upper end of that range. Buy-sell ratio also improving, staying in these upper ranges right here, pausing just slightly right here this last couple of days. Let's look right down here, 2.5 versus 2.54 versus 2.66 was the high. So we're right up around that 2.5 range right now on buy-sell ratio, which means that the number of buys right here is significantly greater than the number of sells. That puts us with our overall bias towards the upside in this overall uptrend. We are seeing the sentiment side of things pushing towards the upper end of that range, as we've talked about this week. I should say this past week. We take a look at major indices and go in here to the index scan. We're seeing buy-sell ratios across the board on indices. The Dow, we've got 16-1, so we've got pretty healthy bullish activity happening right here with pretty rich ratios, and that's a good thing. That's a bullish bias, what we want to see in an overall uptrend. We're seeing bonds. Let's look at those real quick. Continued pop higher here on bonds, and starting to work its way back up. Going to run into some resistance right here on TLT, right at that 92 range, but we want to continue to see the overall bond market improving. That means that interest rates are also going to be coming down if we see these bond prices moving higher. Here's another one here on SHY. If we look at S&P 500, and here you notice I'm on the 1-year time frame right now, just another slightly different perspective, a little bit longer term perspective, and you can see S&P 500 bouncing in that momentum zone right at that 236 and clearing out of that 522 range on S&P 500. Be watching for a retest of that 522 range. We're pulled back. If we do get a pullback, I should say when we get a pullback, watching for that 522. So we've got a lot of nice support areas now in the overall market across all major indices. If we look at the Qs here as well, that's NASDAQ 100 in this overall uptrend here as well. And the Dow, they all look real similar right now, which doesn't always happen, and it's we're getting breakouts across the board. If we take a look at sectors, we're seeing continued improvement in sectors, and almost all buys across the board. Seeing energy, consumer services, transportation average dipping just a little bit. We may see energy start to pop back up here again because we are seeing commodities, and we're seeing that USO also improving. I'm going to move back here to that 6-month time frame. You can see it just turned back up into that upper hold zone. So when we go from green to yellow to red, then essentially the green is our overall trending direction. That's the trend direction that we're focusing on the upside. The red is the trend direction on the downside. If it starts to pause and stop and then come back up into that yellow zone, then it's coming back into that neutral, non-trending phase where it's shifting trends. So we want to be watching for a trend shift. As that starts to happen, we start to clear back out of that downtrend and come back up into this range, especially if we have a significant support area. So let's keep an eye on USO this week and over the next few days as well, see if we get any momentum. We're seeing a big run in silver right here. Keep an eye on SLV and also silver mining stocks. We're seeing the new buy list just chock full of basic material, gold, everything. We'll look at that here in just a minute. But silver's having a big move. We're seeing a big move in gold also, a potential breakout of this most recent range. So this overall uptrend in gold and silver is still very much intact and very strong right here, starting to see increased demand in that overall trend. And we've also talked about copper. We haven't brought that up, but copper is having a big run up here as well. So we're seeing massive run up in gold, silver, copper, not quite yet in USO, but base materials and metals are working pretty aggressively right now. So let's run over to the new buy list. Muscle stocks, we're seeing uranium, UEC. This actually has a really nice 1-year pattern right here. You can see that uptrend consolidation working to break out of that 750 range. Keep a close eye on UEC. Also AROC, which is an oil field service space and holding in that upper momentum zone. So we may start to see some oil stocks come back into play again. This is a nice looking chart with lots of green across the board, solid uptrend, a nice rank. And you're also seeing a little bit deeper in the list, you're starting to see additional gold stocks coming in here. Where did we see those? Denison Mines also in there, and then also aluminum, CENX to the upside, and interesting. I lost those. There it is, EGO. That was the one I was looking for. So EGO, some gold mining stocks in there. We saw a long consolidation as gold was kind of consolidating, moving sideways, and now we're seeing a breakout of that and across the board on some of these gold names as well. That'll do it for today's update, and everyone have a fantastic day today.